Hello and welcome. Before I begin, I want to let you know that this video has been taken entirely from an article I wrote for e-magazine Digital Car Culture. I will link that in the description, so make sure you go and check it out. I've been meaning to make a video on this topic for a while, so I thought I would convert what I'd written into something for your eyeballs and earballs. If you do enjoy the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing for more of my content. Much like any other hobby, sim racing is an activity that can be enjoyed casually with little expense or very seriously with tens of thousands spent. Money is such a subjective thing as well. To some, a few $100s is inconsequential to their life. For others, it can mean months of saving. Given this is about getting into sim racing, I'm going to make the assumption that very few of you are sitting on $30,000 to start off your new hobby. If 2020 has taught us anything, other than the fact that people think it's wise to hoard toilet paper in a pandemic, it's that sim racing has never been more accessible and easy to get into. Even if you're looking to spend as little money as possible, any of the current generation, previous generation, consoles have a good range of titles to get your motorsport juices flowing. From there, you can add a wheel and pedal set, get a rig to bolt it to, and if you have access to a halfway decent PC, your options continue to expand. But let's start simple. Within the sim racing community, people love to attach titles to games like arcade, simcade, or simulator, but these are rarely reflected accurately on the box. So what's the difference? Well, I like to think of this classification as a sliding scale, with arcade at one end, simulator at the other, and simcade somewhere in the middle. I'll display on screen a very highly technical and scientific scale to demonstrate where a few of the titles you may have heard of approximately sit. Anything above the simcade line will be very accessible, easily available across most systems, and as these games have a tendency to devalue fairly quickly, you can often find them fairly cheap. Most would agree, however, that these are not an entry into racing sims. The racing starts to get a bit more serious once you hit the simcade section. If you have no experience in racing sims, titles like Gran Turismo Sport and Forza are a great place to start, as you'll need to learn basic car control skills, the correct racing line, braking markers and throttle application if you want to be competitive online against other people. They accommodate the more casual start with good feel on a controller and don't stress you out too much with things like fuel and tyre strategy, although these are available in a simplified way, complex pit stops and the need for a good car setup. Yet they also work well with steering wheels and provide good competition with online races. In fact, Gran Turismo Sport online offerings are second to only iRacing, with daily match-made races and FIA sanctioned weekly races, which are also match-made. Car and tyre physics are much closer to simulators than arcade games, however the races tend to be short, simple affairs that resemble the more casual arcade titles, hence the name simcade. Once you've cut your teeth in simcades, or if you're looking to dive straight into a more realistic racing experience, consoles offer less options. Games like the F1 Racing series and even Project Cars 2 are available on both PlayStation and Xbox and noticeably change the format. The physics don't necessarily get any closer to full-on sims, however these run race weekends much more like racing in real life, but do so with simplicity and availability for casual racers in mind. I'm not going to delve into the car and tyre handling physics too much here, as there are some wildly differing opinions floating around. The most realistic racing experience you can have on the consoles is most likely going to be found in either Assetto Corsa or Assetto Corsa Competizione. AC is an older title, and much like the aforementioned, has some varying views on how good the physics are. It does, however, offer a decent selection of cars and laser scan tracks, great audio, and it's easy to set up a client-hosted lobby for you and your friends. ACC is a later release, and is an officially licensed GT World Challenge simulator. Car physics and handling are superb, tracks are all laser scanned and the audio is second to none. Being a licensed game, however, there are only 3 classes of cars, GT3, GT4 and the Porsche Cup, and a limited selection of tracks available. It's also a console port from the PC version that didn't go that well. Graphically, it's not great, especially on the base PS4 and Xbox One, barely holding decent FPS. Despite this, it is the most realistic simulator on console and loses nothing in handling and audio area from the PC. It's worth mentioning that whilst it's possible to play these with a controller, you're going to have a much better experience using a wheel. Finally, we move on to PC. If you have a suitable PC, you'll have access to most of the games mentioned up to this point, excluding Gran Turismo, plus a whole bunch more. ACC is still a great option, and AC has a mammoth range of user-created mods. If you can think of a car or a track that you would like to try, chances are someone would have made it for AC. The quality varies naturally, but there's no shortage of really well-made content, and the game itself is fairly inexpensive these days. rFactor 2 offers a very similar selection. However, both games only offer privately run servers and can be much harder to find races and championships to be a part of. You'll need to seek out a club in your region running the cars or events you're interested in and join them outside of the game on forums, websites, discords, etc. If you're a little budget conscious but wanting a more robust online setup, Raceroom is worth checking out. The game is free to download and gives you a modest selection of cars and tracks to try, although most of the later and more desirable cars and tracks do need to be purchased. The cost is not entirely unreasonable either, regularly offering discounts on content, and most of the cars come in championship packs or can be purchased singularly for around €4 a pop. Raceroom does now offer ongoing daily and weekly races divided into regional servers, although the game population is low and it can be difficult to get enough people for the races. Physics are good, visuals are fine, but the audio won't blow your hair back. The unmentioned elephant in the room, of course, is iRacing. I could make a substantial video on iRacing alone, and any opinion I offer, irrespective of what that is, will likely generate a fairly divisive reaction. So I'll do my best to stick with the facts as I see them. iRacing is a great simulator. I've started with an opinion, haven't I? It is generally regarded as the benchmark to compare all other sims by. The quality and handling physics and tyre model does bounce around a bit, but overall they are very good. Visually it looks nice, especially considering it's 12 years old, ongoing updates have helped here, and the audio is there or thereabouts. Car and championship selection is vast, as is the track selection, all of which are very high quality and accurate. Car setups, tyre wear and fuel strategy is important, and the game doesn't hold your hand. So much so that it can be very daunting to newcomers who don't have the skills to set up cars or the experience to nail race strategy. There is no shortage of help available online, setup assistance or even setup downloads, although this can be difficult to find up-to-date information on, and a lot of it will be locked behind a paywall. The online aspect of iRacing is where the game really shines and sits unrivaled by any other offering on the market. There are structured and scheduled races and championships running all year that anyone can join, as long as you hold the correct license level and safety rating. There is an easy to find calendar, and many of these races are run at regular intervals every day of the week. There are also the iRacing special events like the 24 Hour of Le Mans, the Bathurst 12 Hour and the Daytona 500, plus others. Again, these are open to anyone that has the appropriate license and safety rating. I can't, however, in all conscience discuss iRacing and not mention the cost. It's bloody expensive. I know I said before that cost is subjective, but factually, compared with other sims on the market, iRacing is comparatively expensive. To start with, you will need to purchase a subscription before getting access to any of the content. This will cost you anywhere from $13 a month to $199 for 2 years. This will give you access to a decent selection of content, 16 cars and 22 tracks across all 4 disciplines. It is my understanding, however, that this will not give you enough content to do any of the championships in their entirety. You do get the Mazda MX-5, which you will likely use to progress out of the rookie license, but depending on what track is in rotation that week, you may need to wait until a free track enters rotation before you can compete. Although you may be able to do an oval, dirt oval or dirt race that week, but they are separate licenses to your road license. Each car is $11.95, each track is $14.95, all costs are in US dollars for iRacing, and the website overtake.gg broke down all the costs in March of 2020, and including the maximum discounts you get from bulk purchases, the total ended up at $1,548.86. That's $2,105.59 dollary-dos for the cars and tracks, even more if I don't buy in bulk. For clarity, if you let your subscription lapse, you lose all access to all content, even if you paid for it. Of course, you really don't need to buy all of that if you aren't looking to compete in everything, so your mileage will likely vary. I'll leave sim racing equipment costs and consideration for another day, but there is a plethora of wheels, pedals and rigs available. Your selection will most likely be determined by your bank account.